The January 21st meeting of the Abington Planning Board. So I'm going to call this meeting to order. Liz, what do you think? Minutes or any of that stuff?
You know what, if you want to just skip right to the meat and potatoes of the meeting, we can go back and do the little stuff.
Okay. All right, so we're going to do the public hearing? Yes.
Yep.
Okay. We're going to do 6:05. Public hearing, site plan 199, 225 Central Street. And I see Mr. Attorney Sean Riley at the podium. Take it away, Sean.
Thank you, Chairman Hughes. I'm not here as Attorney Riley, I'm here as Citizen Riley, Citizen Sean Riley, 271 Dorsey Street. I am a member of the Building Committee for the DPW and Fire Station Building Project, which is the subject matter of this continued hearing. I do want to thank the Planning Board for scheduling this special meeting to basically follow up and hopefully wrap up our site plan review process. Also want to report back to you, if you're not aware, the special permit for lot coverage, which you previously approved, the appeal period has run and that has been recorded and also filed with the town planner and the building department. So that is all set. And we are here though with some remaining details on the site plan for the new DPW and new fire station building, which is to be constructed adjacent to and behind our existing police station on Central Street. I'm not going to talk much because it's mostly engineering stuff that we're talking about to finalize tonight, but I wanted to reintroduce with us tonight is Brian McCusker from Weston and Sampson and Elena Cotter from Weston and Sampson, two of our project engineers. Fire Chief Jack Glenn is also present in case there's any really tough engineering questions. He'll jump in at the door. But Mr. Silva is the town review engineer, has been extremely thorough, and we appreciate that. There's been a couple letters back and forth as part of the review process. Mr. Silva's last letter, I don't know, the fourth review letter had two main, he had two illustrations in there that he was showing some things he wanted to update it with and drawn, some notes to be added. I understand that Weston Sampson just submitted a written response today, which I just got a copy of, and I think you may have had that forwarded to you. But I think it's probably best if Larry and Elena maybe summarize what those outstanding issues are, because they're the engineers there. So if I could introduce Elena.
Hello, everyone. So the large plan that you have, that was our submission that we did about a week and a half ago to the planning board, and Larry reviewed that copy. And then he issued, I believe last Monday or Tuesday, his comments, which there were two comments, because we submitted two plans. One is phase one plan, so we submitted two drainage plans. One was phase one plan for drainage plan for phase one improvements, and the second one was overall project drainage plan. Because all of the, I think, unresolved comments we had were related to drainage. So the comments, and I'm gonna just briefly touch on them, you can read it for yourself, but one was to specify, I'm going to specify stub out over here with the plug. That was actually on the plans, but maybe it was missed. It was kind of on the side, so I just did a little snippet in my response letter of where this was specified. The second was to adjust the limits of phase one. So in our response today, we have adjusted the phase one limits to incorporate the stone line scour hole, and also to show an extra layer of protection with compost filter tubes, so that the water from the scour hole has some way to clean out sediments. And then prior to our submission last week, we had a quick conference call with Liz and Larry from the town, and we were talking about a couple options with the southern, how do you zoom out?
show that, right?
Yeah. So couple, so previously discussed to have a secondary way for the water to get into the pond in case that large 36-inch pipe that bisecting the side is at capacity. So one of the solutions that we came up with is to have a secondary outfall on the southern side of this bioretention area, which would connect to a separate outfall. Once again, I can't control this. Which would connect to the drainage system in the street and would discharge into the pond through this kind of eastern culvert versus the central culvert that's in the middle of the site.
And that's pre-existing? That currently exists?
This currently exists, correct. So we unfortunately weren't able to eliminate this connection fully, and the reason for that is that there is an under drain in this bioretention area because it is lined, and it is too low elevation-wise to connect to that street drainage system. So we still have to have a connection to this 36-inch pipe for that under drain, but we, did incorporate a second overflow means in for the large storms, so that hopefully there is no issue.
And that connection to the existing drain, that is all stormwater, updated stormwater requirements in terms of direct discharge into water bodies and.
Well, it's utilizing existing discharge, so it's not adding new discharge.
Okay.
So it meets it from that perspective, and also because it is overflow from the bioretention area, so bioretention is providing the treatment
Okay.
to the first flush. So it's treating the first flush, and that's going into that under drain. This is really for large storms.
Perfect.
And Larry also had a comment that our limit of work for that section on the bottom was not updated on the plans that we previously submitted, so we have made that revision and updated the limit of work to show that it's been done in phase one.
What we're looking at here is the version of the plan titled Phase 1 Salt Shed Fuel Island.
Sorry, that's C4.
I think they're both C401, it's just two different sets. One is for the phase one and one is for the overall project.
So that one doesn't have, that one, most of the site's grayed out on. It's the limit of work or something, right? So it says phase two. Yep, that's the one we're looking at, correct?
There was a question here about the size of the under drain, whether 4 inches or 6 inches.
Yeah, when I looked at it, making that revision, it didn't need to be 6 inches, and I also was trying to eliminate a couple extra structures by connecting directly into 36-inch pipe, but Larry's suggestion was to just leave that connection the way it was with the two structures and just add a secondary structure. So I went back to what we previously showed. So what you have right now on that plan is a little bit outdated. Well, it's not outdated, but this was just most recent revision that we have not.
Well, it's outdated in the sense that this one is showing 4 inches,
Yes, so
and it's been
it,
changed to 6.
so it was, yeah, it went back to 6 per Larry's suggestion.
Just because it's been a long couple months since you've been here, can you just trace, show, display the path that 36-inch pipe takes from the site to this? Oh, that's fancy.
Actually, I guess it's not there, that'd be here. Yeah, so that 36-inch pipe comes across here.
Yeah.
Then you can see it's right there, and then it goes right about here. This is the fire station, which is where we located it, and then crosses here.
Okay.
And then here's that other, we had to have a surveyor go out for this. This is, I think, what is it, 12 inches or 15-inch
I
pipe?
think they identified it as a 15-inch.
So that's where we added that additional item.
So the majority of the drainage from the site will eventually go out through the 36-inch.
Yes.
Yeah, zoom out a teeny bit. I guess, I don't know where the exact one is, but there is some chambers where the groundwater is,
Yeah.
you know, lower, and we're a little bit steeper up here, so these are all underground chambers here, here, and there's some up here. so.
And that's direct discharge into the ground?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, not entirely, actually.
I mean-
The only one that's directly infiltrating to the ground is this one right here.
That one.
And that's because it has enough of
Oh,
a separation from the groundwater to the bottom of chambers. Everything else is, you know, stepped a little bit because it follows the existing, you know, the ground of the
Yep.
site. So we weren't able to have infiltration in the remaining chamber system.
Thank you for clarifying, yeah. Okay.
So have you addressed all the comments Larry made?
We'd like to think so, unless you have any other comments or if Larry has additional feedback.
Larry, could we hear from you on this, please?
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. They may have been addressed or not, but when the 6-inch was restored in there, in the front basin there, okay, so how are we connecting into the 36? What's the elevation and where is that?
Yep, so it's connecting right here, 88.35,
88 what?
88.35.
8835.
This is the inlet out from the structure, and it connects, let me see, that's 5.
So, but that's not the elevation at the 36, is it not?
No, 36 is a little bit lower, so this is about a foot higher than the bottom of,
So my question to you is, what happens to that under drain? Is that not, under drain not taking water from the 36 coming the other way? The under drain elevation is at 80, I can't read it in the small one here, 8841?
88.41.
Okay, so what you're telling me is the invert of the 36 at that point is what?
It is about 87, 78.
So under certain circumstances, as soon as that 36 starts to take in flow, it is backing up into the basin though, correct?
I mean, it would have to have about a foot of flow in it, at least at the minimum.
But that 36 has to be basically empty for it to be able to take flow from the under drain.
It will have to have, yes, less than a foot of water in it.
Okay.
Would Weston Sampson, like to respond to what Larry just said, or?
I mean, I think that's,
The under drain doesn't really drain unless the 36 is almost totally empty. And if the 36 has flow in it, there is actually a backflow towards the under drain in those circumstances. It's really not providing an under drain, it's another way out of the 36 coming back towards the basin.
I'm sorry, can I ask you, where would you expect it to be joined?
Well, it's if you have an under drain, you're looking for an under drain to be able to get out without a constraint. You know what I'm saying? You're looking for it to be able to have a positive flow out without, without anything stopping the water from leaving underneath this basin. I just don't see that being the situation here. I see it as being if the 36 doesn't have flow in it, then there is the ability for the bottom of the basin, the under drain, to actually have some positive flow going towards the 36. But in all other circumstances, it really doesn't have that ability to do that. I mean, the 36 is where the 36 is. And the basin really, if there wasn't the ability, you were sort of like, you didn't have any other ability to keep that under drain up a bit higher or not, but you're never gonna get to the point where you're at the crown of the 36. So that doesn't mean that you're never gonna have it so that you don't have the ability for if the 36 is full, then it's going to push water back the other way.
Like a diverted, so if it backed up?
It's almost diverting back towards that basin, like it's all.
Off the side and like a pressure relief type thing?
Yeah, in other words, so you're trying to store water in that basin, but you're looking to throttle that water to go out to the 36. And that doesn't occur easily. Certainly doesn't empty the basin. Do you follow what I'm saying?
I mean, it will empty it maybe,
If the 36 is totally empty, then there'll be a positive flow from the bottom of the basin. That's the time that you'll see it. If it doesn't, then you don't see it until that point.
I mean,
But-
unfortunately, this is the only location where we can connect the drainage. I mean, we have tried the upper side, the lower side, there is really no way to connect the drainage anywhere else. I mean, if you look at any other structures on site, even existing structures, right, they connect at the invert because this pipe is such a shallow pipe, there is a
Yeah.
minimum cover on it, so the pipes are connecting at the bottom of it, and that's, there is pressure flow through, during larger storms through most of those,
What's the crown, let's say if it's not under pressure, but the 36 is at its crown, what's the elevation of the crown?
well, basically, looking at 87, 78 is the invert, so you would think that the crown would be 90.78, so.
90.78, so that means that when that pipe is flowing full, your basin's full no matter what. I mean, that's but you're not just taking water from the roadway, you're taking water back from the pipe. You follow me? So so it's not like, this connection to the 36 is not just giving you a positive outfall. What that's doing is it's actually, in some ways, you're getting handicapped by it because you're now backflowing from the 36 into the basin while you're taking water into the basin from the surface.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying? So, the concern I would have would be is it gonna be that you're not gonna get, are you ever gonna get a point at which the flow that's coming into the basin on the surface can't get out because the backflow from the 36 is occupying the volume in that basin, and it's gonna bring the stage up higher.
Can you zoom out more? I mean, for that 36-inch pipe to get filled that 100 feet, that's gonna be a lot of water in the pond too. I mean, what would the anticipated normal height of a 36-inch pipe be when a storm happens? Would it be full, or would it be 12 inches?
That's gonna be full.
Depending on the storm, if we're talking about
Yeah.
100-year storm, yes, it will be full.
Okay.
If we're talking at like a 2-year storm, it's not gonna have an issue for like a smaller storm, emptying out.
I guess the real crux, I think, what Larry's trying to get at is this potentially able to be raised or not? I don't know. I think is that what you're trying to get at in terms of?
It really cannot be raised, and
That
there are
can't be
two.
raised.
One is because it's a very shallow bioretention area. It's only, like even less than 2 feet from the lowest point of the road. Second of all, it does need that layer of bioretention soil in order to filter the pollutants. So you can't, so you have to obviously have that perforate pipe below that level.
Can I ask a question?
Is this an engineering, you
As
got
a
an
layman
engineering
trying to understand
solution?
what you're doing, so I can tell the rest of the committee. I think what you're concerned, well, we're all concerned is if we have just a gully washer, a heavy rainstorm, that basin's gonna retain water and the water will rise if it's a really heavy rain, right? And then it is designed that water's gonna discharge through a pipe to the 36-inch pipe, but we're concerned at some point, because of drainage in the entire area, the 36 is gonna fill up, which means our water draining into it would back up, right? So that now our retention pond, basin won't drain. So my question was, isn't that what the purpose of that secondary relief valve was? That it takes the water off the top, kind of like the top of your bathtub, and it goes to that other discharge? Or,
It becomes a lot more critical.
Yeah.
For that to be taking a lot of the load.
yeah, so it's gonna like, for lack of a better word, it's gonna siphon off the top. If we have a bad storm, that
It's-
second pipe only comes into play if the water level rises to that level.
Yeah, and that pipe, that secondary one that we're able to get in there is really laid almost level with it doesn't kick in until 90.5,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So your,
So the top of the basin is 92, if I'm reading that right from here?
yeah, but where is it at the driveway? Where was that, what was the elevation coming in at the driveway at the low point?
91.1.
91.1.
Yep.
So you got roughly, you got 6 inches or so from the rim where you're going in that secondary outlet to the other, going back out and towards the driveway,
I
so.
suspect if the pond is hitting a flood stage to the point where it's backfilling that pipe all the way up, we're gonna have a lot more issues besides that bioswale.
Yeah.
True.
Let's hope.
In other parts of town.
Yeah.
Well, one of the thoughts that I had, which I wasn't sure made sense in this application, was whether or not to try to put a backflow on the under drain.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? To put something as a backflow, prevent it on the underflow, on the under drain going out to the 36, so it can only take a positive flow, it can't.
They do this in some harbor drains to prevent big storms from backwashing up into marshlands.
And reminder, in the big picture, we talked about this at the previous meeting, if there is weather forecast for anything more than a 2 or 3 inch storm, that's when the pond level is lowered, to let water out on the, Center Avenue side, the Route 123 side, so that we don't have that big.
No, this is really what I'm looking at is what's the upgradient from the 36 contributing to the 36, trying to get down the highway on its way to the pond.
Yeah.
And that's still with the pond out. So I guess what I'm asking is that if maybe you could consider putting in some sort of a backflow on the under drain, so it won't be taking the flow back into the basin, when the 36 is flowing.
Which would then kick in the other relief valve, right?
Well, it'll minimize how much water you're gonna take back from the 36.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, into the basin,
Yep.
to make your situation
Better.
a bad one, you don't want that. So if you can try to stop that under drain from being a discharge pipe, that's really what you wanna do.
Yep.
Yeah, we can do that. That's
right? You know what I'm saying? So, those are always kind of tricky. Backflow preventers are, I want to say, they're hopefully reliable. In a situation like this where it's drainage, they seem to be a lot more reliable than if it was a surge kind of application. You know, because you can have other stuff that would block.
So I think we would probably
Block
do
doesn't
it in
see.
this pipe right here, the P1, just before, because we, outside of the 6-inch perforated pipe, this is also an open structure, so if we put it in P1, hopefully it wouldn't overtopple the structure, although that's at 90.5, this pipe would have to be fairly full, to
So if anything, you can kind of dual, if that pipe gets full, it can go into the structure, help it kind of release with the backflow on the P1 pipe, which will then help it not go
Yeah.
into the basin.
Yeah, I mean, to the extent that the backflow can help, I just think it's a feature you might want to do.
So it goes on that P1 pipe?
It would go, yeah, it would probably go on that, not on the P1 pipe, but it would go on the one that's going, is that one, the other one, that's a P50?
this one.
Which one, is that the one going out to the
That's the
36?
one connecting, yeah, to the
36.
existing manhole, yeah.
So, and what size is that one?
It's also 12-inch, I think.
12 inch, so yeah, so if you could put it on that one, I think that's better. I don't know if you can put it, can you put it so that it's actually located in the drainage manhole in case it ever had to be serviced or anything like that? You know what I'm saying? It would be a lot easier, I don't know.
I don't know, I think usually it's like in line in the pipe with the angle
Yeah, but if you-
there. I don't know that.
But if you have the pipe, if you have the outlet from that drainage manhole, that pipe sort of extend into the manhole somewhat and put the backflow right on it, right there. You know what I'm saying, right at the inlet point to that outlet?
So I think our intent was for this structure to be just like a small PVC manhole just for the angle, like it wasn't a large, full-size,
Well, I think that's what you used to have it as, but I'm telling you, it's gonna be a regular manhole. I think that needs to be a regular manhole. And then just have that backflow in there, and I think that we can call it a day at that point.
And that'll solve that issue.
So the circle with the D in it, the drain.
It's not gonna be
Be a manhole.
not that yard drain kind of thing, it'll be a regular manhole. The outlet pipe going out of that manhole will extend into the structure enough to get the backflow preventer on it.
Yep.
And that way, if the backflow ever had to be serviced, somebody could get to it to service it.
Is that what these things for those?
Without digging
No,
things
this is
up.
drainage covers.
What's that?
Without digging things up.
Yeah, without
Right,
digging
and
stuff
that's in a
up, yeah.
grassy area,
Yeah.
too, so.
Yeah,
I mean, if that resolves that issue, I think, yeah.
yeah, I think that's the way to do it.
That's, correct me if I'm wrong, that's a manhole cover, right? You could actually put that, you could bury it with grass if you wanted to.
Yeah,
Weston and Sampson, please just don't hire Larry away. That's a-
So with that revision, is everything in order then?
Yeah, I mean, the goal tonight is to hopefully, probably get an order of conditions, and if, we have to revise the plan, we'll send a sketch, but hopefully we can walk away from tonight, and we're hoping to bid phase 2.
You meant to say site plan approval, not order conditions, but keep going.
Yes, thank you. We're hoping to bid the whole project, I think, was it February 19th-ish, plus or minus, which would be great. We got a lot of contractors pre-qualified, which is a good sign. Phase 1, you'll probably see people start up in about, a few weeks over there, so.
Yeah, and just so the committee's aware, so phase 1 has already been awarded, I think you're aware of that. It came in under budget, it was great, the company out of Hanover is doing it. So all the work that we're talking about tonight would basically be an amendment to their contract, to add that drain hole, to do everything that has been shown here and discussed, would be an amendment to what they've already seen. And we have the funding, well, it doesn't matter if we do have the funding to do it, but we have to do this anyhow.
yeah.
Right. So that would move, yeah, they were out surveying, I think, the end of last week, so we hope to see them get started in the relative near future.
Yeah, so phase 1 is the salt shed, the above-ground fuel island tanks, and the driveway to the right. And then phase 2 are the new fire department and DPW buildings, along with the majority of the storm water on the site here.
I will say that I was out doing test pits last week before this real cold snap. And we dug out 8 inches of frost, just to get underneath, just in the grass yard,
Where here or?
no, in Bridgewater.
Oh,
But I'm just saying is that the frost penetration is happening.
yeah.
And this week, it's really happening. So we're talking every night now that it's really cold right now, you got several inches of frost added on.
Not good digging weather.
Not good digging weather.
But, and just as a refresher, even, we're going out to bid for phase 2 in the middle of February. The bids would be due, I think it was right about 1st of April or so, 2nd of April. The awards, we would review everything. If we're in budget, we would award that bid, and they could get started sometime in May-ish, June-ish, depends, if the bids come in under our budget. None of the phase 2 work, however, can start until the phase work is actually completed, because we have to have the fuel island and the salt shed up and able to run before we remove and demolish the old salt shed and the old fuel island.
Could I ask, Mr. Link, what do you estimate the length of construction to be just for phase 1?
For phase 1, they should be done, I think they're shooting in May. If weather permitting, they could be done as early as May. And we're in the process of cleaning up the DPW site, throwing away things that we don't need, and we're gonna be moving materials and vehicles eventually to the North School to use that as their storage yard site, while that eventually gets them off-site. So as soon as phase 1's done, and assuming the phase 2 contract's been awarded, DPW has all their materials and vehicles off-site so that demolition can begin, as I said, hopefully in June-ish. If the bids come in high and we have to regroup, then that would require a second bid process that would push us back 2-3 months again.
Mr. Riley, I just had a question. As far as the salt shed goes, because this is going to take multiple years to get this done, and I know the salt shed is obsolete and stuff like that, where is the town going to store the road salt while this is under construction?
That's the whole purpose of building this salt shed is phase 1. So this salt shed that we're constructing is a pre-engineered building in the back rear of the property, which is 6,200 square feet, if I recall, which is essentially, right now, we have 2 old wooden ones on the DPW site, one of which is very dilapidated. So all the salt that was in those 2 old ones will now be in that single new one, so we can rip down the old ones.
So it's prefab, so it won't take long to build.
Right, it won't. And again, timing-wise, so for this winter, which we're in right now, here we are in the middle of January. January, February, March, April, we'll be using the existing DPW site and the existing DPW salt shed. The new salt shed will be built this spring. It'll be standing there, it'll have some material in it through the summer. Next winter, the plan is, we'll use that salt shed, but all of our vehicles will be parked over the North School, but anytime there's a storm, they still go to this Central Street site to reload and do that. So it's not gonna bother neighbors over at the North School, that's just for parking the vehicles and some equipment. This will still be your hub of operations during a winter storm event. And again, we're talking about winter of 25, 26. If all goes well with bidding and timing, weather and construction, we're hoping that the entire project would be completed sometime around the end of 2026, possibly the very beginning of 2027.
So getting into the salt shed, while everything's under construction, there'll be a way for them to get into that place.
Yes, exactly. And that's why this new driveway's being built.
In the fuel island as well, and so, because right now the common fuel island's here, so like, this will all be available to the town from here on over. And actually, one thing I do like about the salt shed, a lot of towns have multiple salt sheds that aren't that tall, so what's nice about the new salt sheds that we do is the trucks can lift their body in it completely and pull out. Because what you find is all these truckers, they just drop it in front, and you gotta get someone in the machine and push it
Oh,
in.
jeez.
You can never get the site as clean as if you just did it in the salt shed. So this is designed for the town for a whole year.
For high voting.
Because we all remember 2015, and we don't want that to happen again, when salt was very scarce that year. everyone's fighting for it.
I think, yeah, and the salt shed will be located in a part of property that's behind the police station, correct?
Yep, kind of in a hill too, so it won't kind of stand out. You know, you see them on that side of the highways all the time, from Mass DOT.
Sorry.
So the only other thing that I do want to do is make sure that any of these other items that you've discovered with this additional survey and so forth, to make sure that you update the existing conditions plan so that, put a revision on it and add those things onto it, so the record plan of existing conditions reflects all the discoveries that you've had during this process.
For example, the survey work you did on that other outfall.
You got some new stuff that you found, or you got new elevations that you didn't have before. Just make sure that that existing conditions plan is updated as for the record.
We have the fire chief here. I know you're not an engineer, sir, but would you care to make any comments on this presentation at all?
No.
Well, you're here, sir. Well, I would be neglecting my duties if not recognizing you as part of the meeting.
I'm just excited about getting it going. My mentality is always, when we see something, let's get on it, and things don't work that way all the time, so. I've had to exercise a lot of patience, because, again, it's not my expertise, you got the expert.
Luckily, you're not in between some political tug and pull, you know.
Okay,
So with that, I am satisfied.
yeah,
with that.
and you guys are amenable to Larry's suggestions. Oh, good, we can all sing Kumbaya down there.
Yeah, so I think it would be to file an updated plan set incorporating the revisions that were in their response, plus the backflow preventer as described, plus eventually an updated existing conditions plan.
And we have some suggested conditions here that we're talking about.
Sorry, what did you say?
We have a couple of suggested conditions. So I'll wait for Mr. Soper to return and then we'll act on this. Okay. All right. Okay, can we close this public hearing?
What else do you have to talk about?
I was gonna say, if you wanna talk about proposed conditions, you should probably leave the public hearing open so they can respond to it.
Okay, all right, we have a couple of suggested conditions, and I'll read them. The applicant can plant 2 shade trees along the western border of the property adjacent to the paved storage training area between the fire station and Public Works building. The trees should be at least 60 feet tall when mature in order to provide shade and cooling for the paved area. And then the another condition is a site operating and management document signed by the fire department, police department, and Department of Public Works and enforceable by the town manager shall be in place prior to any certificates of occupancy being issued. Any comments on that, Mr. Rep?
No, I think the latter one, that you just said, the agreement, that was more of the kind of coordination issues we talked about in one of our earlier meetings. You know, how we assign parking lot or use of different facilities as changes may come up from time to time.
Traffic flow, storage,
Yeah, exactly.
all those, yeah.
Right. So that would be something the town would have to do.
Yeah.
Prior to occupancy.
What was the first one? Was it, did you say 60-foot tall tree?
2,
Yeah.
2
Mature,
shade trees.
mature.
Okay, yeah, it was 60. I was like,
You did say 60, I thought.
You did, 60 feet tall when mature, okay. That was actually, obviously,
You might want to say what the minimum caliper is.
doesn't matter what type of tree.
As long as it's native.
Giant redwood.
Probably
Yeah.
evergreen.
You got a redwood.
Great redwood.
I'm gonna assume it'll probably be some sort of evergreen or something. Well, landscape.
Yeah, we have a landscape architect.
Sean has a list.
Yeah, the idea is that you're proposing, 35 yard by 35 yard paved area, which if it's any other applicant, we wouldn't necessarily allow.
That's in this area,
Yeah.
west.
So somewhere along that border, between the property line, between where it starts to cut in and that DPW building, somewhere in there. As you're getting into it, if you would figure out what makes sense,
Might be able to just squeeze it in, you know?
yeah, and it's just gonna provide some shade for those areas.
There is a pretty good row of existing evergreens on the cemetery land that, yeah, exactly, from the DPW building northerly, that would be.
That may or may not stay there.
Why, you plan to take them down?
You never know.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
they don't add much
I
canopy.
didn't know if you knew something I didn't know.
They're, 12 feet or something, they're 12 to 15 feet, they don't provide.
The existing
much,
ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's more just get a couple of trees for the canopy for the shade, and I think it'll be a nice addition.
So do you, just so we're on the same page, do you care if it's deciduous or evergreen? Just, okay. just
Maybe
make sure.
black cherry, it can be a cedar, it can be,
No, we'll
whatever.
get something that kind of fits in that area that's not gonna rip up pavement, but we'll
Yeah.
still do what we're looking for.
Yeah, something that I think makes sense and like looks good. I know our landscape architect, thinks about that kind of stuff. I don't personally trees out there.
Yeah.
And so.
All right. So,
I don't think that's a public hearing.
now we,
So, in one of our prior sessions, we had been reviewing part of the back and forth correspondence between Larry and the engineering firm. And so I'm referencing the correspondence of November 22, which I don't think we have generally available to everybody here. But one of the questions that I had at that time, there were a couple of points. Reduce the potential for dampness of the proposed floor slab. Project architect may consider placing a vapor barrier beneath the floor slab. And my recollection is that we agreed at that time that that's something that would be done, as opposed to would be considered.
That's part of the building code.
I was gonna
Yes,
say,
we will provide a vapor recorder.
And then I actually, I
question-
wrote down that they were gonna provide a copy of that for the administrative record if you want to make it a
I
condition.
guess that's what I was trying to get at, is so these prior conversations, there were a couple of things like that where we asked for specific items to be addressed. And outside of this correspondence, I didn't know where we would address them. If you went to the plan and looked at it, you wouldn't see that.
right.
So that was, yeah, just to make sure that was recorded, that agreement was recorded someplace.
So I have your list, and I was gonna ask you guys what you wanted to include and not include in the decision letter.
Okay.
And I think just to make it clear on that, that wouldn't be shown on the civil plans, it's more of an architectural item. So I
Yeah.
think what I could do is put a spec maybe with a cut sheet and photos of, usually that goes in before they place the concrete, they put it down, it's like a yellow vapor retarder.
Yep.
So it's clear.
And I was assuming it would also include some sort of language that with every, especially commercial site work, construction, even residential, really, there's always, when you're out there actually digging and putting in foundations and putting pavement and pipes, there's always changes to the exact plan. Minor changes are not an issue, significant changes, we come back to you. Maybe there's language that if it's borderline, we check with the town planner, see if she wants to come in front of you again. But, you know, again, as an example, depending on our budget, when we go out to bid, we have our building and the sites just shown. And then we have what they call add alternates, a list of add alternates. We haven't decided what those are yet, but they would be numbered in sequential order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could have 2, you could have 5, whatever you want. And basically intent of that is, if our bids come in under budget, which means we had additional monies to spend, we're trying to be as conservative as possible right now, what would you do with that extra money? And things that we've discussed is building a canopy, just a roof that we could keep some materials under, that in the very, very back of the property where the hill is, where the highway laydown yard is, could we cut into that hill more, things like that. If those type of issues came up, we'd notify you, because that would be, we'd put a retaining wall. Wouldn't necessarily affect drainage, but things like that, we'd try to let you know if there was a structure or topography that was being changed. Okay? Hopefully, we're in that position. I would love to be able to come back to you and say, hey, we're under budget, we're able to, improve this site, but we won't know that until April.
I just want to, I make the suggestion that if you're going to make a change, before you go forward and make that change, you should at least notice the planning board of the change that you're going to institute. And I would say that you give them at least to the day of their next meeting to be able to respond to it, if, you know, whether or not they
And for Larry to be
do,
able
or
to
somebody
respond.
at least, or, you know, somehow have a mechanism, and that may be too long if it's gonna be a
Yep.
month. But I'm saying, but if some sort of mechanism, so what you don't wanna have, which is I run into a lot of times, is you get to an as-built, you get to a final, and you've made a bunch of changes, and somebody's not happy about the changes you made.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't know you were gonna do that, you know what I'm saying?
Attorney Riley's, not his project, but there have been projects here that have just, you came back and, what project is this, guys? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
They brought them all in, going, come on.
No, and that's exactly why I brought it up, that if that happens, we would come to you. But to give you some reassurance also, on site every day is going to be our owner's project manager, okay? From Pomeroy Associates, thank you. There's gonna be someone from Pomeroy there every single day. Building inspector is, when these projects get going, they're usually there every couple of days. And if an issue comes up, our project manager talks to them. And that's why I said, if something comes up that's like, all right, this has to be moved or enlarged or whatever.
Yeah.
I would notify Liz, who would be the conduit to get to you guys. You know, once the foundation is in the ground, things are pretty much set. So a lot of things are not gonna change.
What I'd advise clients, even of this size nature, we're really kind of talking on a small scale, but this is a much bigger project, so that kind of stuff automatically is going to happen. When any change order happen, paper's going to be flying from the offices, wherever
Yep.
they go. But as I mentioned, a lot of clients, if those things are minor, just make the change, take notes, send a copy over to the building, just so you don't surprise them.
Right, exactly.
That's all I don't want to be surprised.
I don't want to be hauled in front of you guys and get berated, so we will try to do our best to keep you notified. I mean, I remember, I was on the town hall building committee, and my wife was chairman of she wasn't my wife at the time, but she was the chairman of the library building committee. And I don't know if you guys were aware, but the foundation for this building was put in the wrong place. And we had to come to a grinding stop, amend the site plan. It ended up working better in our advantage. There was concessions that the general contractor had to make. It wasn't the general contractor's fault, it was the surveyor that he was required to hire. But, so those type of things can happen. But now that's why we have owner's project managers on site with all municipal projects like this.
What if that happened to him?
What's that?
What if that happened to him? No, we
Are we
don't.
using the same surveyor here? What's the company?
I haven't seen that guy in a long time. 20 years, I haven't seen that guy.
So we're
In
excited
Florida,
about the
I think.
project, we're just, you know, we got good news with phase one bidding. We're hoping that that continues with phase two, but it's just, you just never know. You just never know. Things across the world can affect pricing here, so the sooner we get out the bid, the better for us, and try to lock it in, but, you know, we'll try to give you a report. I talk to Liz a couple times a week, so I'll keep her updated, so she'll know if this project's working, moving forward in a timely manner.
Sean, would like the drains lined with titanium? Is that okay?
Gold.
Yeah.
We'll put a bust of you right in the middle of the project, okay?
Careful what you wish for. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, you know, to sum up for the folks watching this at home, when will construction start, and when do you estimate the project being completed?
So phase one is the construction of this new driveway, which is to the right of the police station, which will lead directly out to the rear of the property, and which halfway down will have the new fuel station. It will also connect to the police station employee parking lot at the rear of the police station where the cruisers park. And if you continue out to the far corner, that's where the salt shed will be. That issue, which is outlined in the red, the phase one, construction could start any week now. Within the next week or two, we'd like to hope, but as Larry pointed, winter weather can make site work tough, but they gotta start at some point. We are hopeful that that work, the new salt shed, the erection of the new salt shed, the construction of the new fuel, and the base coat of that driveway, the drainage system structures that are in that area would all be completed sometime in May-ish. As we, as we move closer, April and May, more stuff, the DPW will be removing more equipment off-site and going up to the North School. We sent letters out to all the North School abutters to let them know what we're using the property for. We're not using the interior of the building because the building's in bad shape. But we will be just out, and we're gonna have security fencing around the entire thing, so it's, you know, should not be an issue or worry to anyone, but if anyone has problems, they can always reach out to the town manager or the DPW. Phase 2, we hope to go out to bid in mid-February. Bids would be due right about the 1st, 2nd of April, I believe the dates were. We then have to check basically all of the bids for compliance and that everyone qualifies, and our owner's project management team has been doing a ton of work. I really appreciate what they're doing. And we should be able to award the contract sometime in mid to late April, and eventually, once we get their bonds and signed contracts, they're given the okay to proceed, which again, we would hope that they would proceed sometime around June-ish. That's again, if the bids come in. There's a lot of moving parts. If the bids come in high, we have to kind of revise something. You know, I don't know what we revised yet. Depends on how high they are. That would make us go out to rebid in, you know, June, July, and it would push us back 6 months. But we're very hopeful, we're very optimistic, we're very working together as a team that we might be able to get this moving. So then when phase 2 starts, which is demolition of all of the highway department buildings, all the ones from 1942 beyond, demolition of the old salt sheds, demolition of the old fuel depot, that would start hopefully in June. And then construction, clearing the site and construction of the new DPW building, all the new drainage system and the new fire station would proceed as soon as they clear the site. And we anticipate it would take us about, if we started in the middle of this summer, it should be completed by the end of 2026, maybe January, February, for a grand opening in 2027. Our school building was done a couple months ahead of time. You just hope you have good weather, good contractors, good pricing.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Any other further comments, questions by the board members? Anybody else want to make any comments? Okay. I think we can close this public hearing now.
So moved?
Second,
Second.
all those in favor, closing the public hearing?
Aye.
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 And then we move on to approving the site plan with the suggested conditions and the comments made by Mr. Silver that have been agreed to by Weston and Sampson. So, again, any questions or comments before we move on to that?
Thank you for your thoroughness in going over this. I know it's a tricky site in some aspects, and I'm sure there's going to be some surprises
Yes.
as we get into it, but I think you've certainly done your homework, so.
Yeah, it's, you know, I missed the meeting in September because we were, in October rather, because we were away, but I've been here for most of the meetings, and you guys have been very thorough, Weston and Sampson and the town committee and the chief and everyone who's been involved in this. So thank you for, you know, having us be a part of this. Okay,
Before we vote on that, can we go through the conditions?
yes, let's go through the conditions.
Just to make it painful for everybody. All right, so I'll work on the dates. So the revision to the plan of pipe number 50 and changing the drain to a full manhole with a backflow preventer installed. The addition of a note that the current fire chief, police chief, and DPW director all agree. And I think that's covered in your, that they want the area to remain flexible and not striped and lined.
Yep.
That's your addition. And operation and maintenance plans for the trucks entering and leaving the site during construction, and that there will be dust remediation and sweeping daily if necessary.
Sorry.
Okay. I have something here about striping in front of the fire
I
station?
remember that discussion.
At one point, there was a physical peninsula, and we wanted to get rid of that physical peninsula so that it would be easy to plow across the apron and right through where the chiefs would park, where the chief would park.
Okay,
So that peninsula is now going to be striped,
okay,
or island, whatever you want to call it.
It's not going to have any hard barriers, it's just going to be striped.
right.
Correct.
Okay.
Just easier to maintain when, keep the public safety buildings operational.
Okay, that's the vapor barrier, so I just have that a report will be provided to the planning board for the administrative record for the vapor barrier.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yep. And then the last thing was that all the information from the recent surveys will be added to an existing condition plans and again provided to the town for the administrative record.
Did you mention the tree?
The trees.
Oh, the trees,
yes,
yes,
yeah,
the
yeah.
trees are on,
60 foot tall.
yep,
When planted 60 feet tall.
Yeah, we have those two suggested conditions, Liz?
right here.
Yes. Add that to your list of
Yes, some fun
conditions.
things. Okay. All right.
The other item in 5I, Liz, what we talked about previously, Representative LGCI should be engaged to observe that the subgrade has been prepared in accordance with the recommendations, and I think we agreed that that would happen, not should be engaged, but will be engaged.
What was that? What?
I can send, well, we haven't got our RFP yet, press release holders on it, and test the vacancy, but that's where all those reports for the compaction come through.
Okay. Okay.
So Rick, did you have any specific language that you wanted to include in the conditions, or was this an observation?
Well,
I think we're required in the building code to do compaction tests for foundations and all.
Yeah.
it's
That data will be available.
that wording, Bruce,
Okay.
should be, isn't should be, but will be.
And you test pitting under where the foundations go anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And compacting,
yeah.
put in, proper granular fill and all. Like any other foundation, really, except there's no basement. It's
Do we want, okay, 2 pages ahead.
It's very important that we have all these noted in the
Right.
decision.
This project's gonna generate a lot of paper.
Already has.
Yes.
I mean, each contractor and each subcontractor submit shop drawings to our review, our design engineers and our architects, and they have to review everything before they purchase it and bring it to our site. You won't see all that. But our
Thank you.
design
I
team
think it's like thousands of submittals, and then on top of it, between, a design team of 30 or 40 people probably, and then those ITA, independent test agency reports of the geo compaction and things like that. We usually send those to the building inspector, concrete breaks, all that type of stuff. And then if our structural engineering team will go out there, review rebar, make sure it's installed correctly. So there's like a lot of reports that the ITA will send. The building inspector's gonna be getting a lot of paperwork on that too as well.
Well, this type of project's great for a building inspector because you got, the pros that are on the site are not house building pros. Fire station's extremely specialized, and the site work is that it's not just paving for a driveway. It's-
Yeah, and to that point, and for the public at home, just so they're aware, nobody can bid on this project unless they've been pre-qualified by our design team, and essentially by the state of Massachusetts, Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So even for phase one, if they want to bid, they submit and prove their qualifications, that they have a certain amount of experience, that they have the bonding capacity. Basically, they're a large enough company with experience. And we also can review if they've had any bad history. That also, all of that is also checked with, how many, oh, you probably don't know, tons of the subcontractors, from the tile guy to the masonry to the roofing guy. We have to check each and every one of those. So for every category that people bid, it's not just one bid for a general contractor. There are another 15 or 20 sub-bids for all these contractors who are trying to buy into the project.
Can I ask a techie question? Are they issuing specs?
Are there what?
Are they issuing specs for the site?
Oh, yes, so, yeah, I can explain that. So, yeah, like he was saying though, on the filed subbids, we pre-qualify everybody, there's probably 5 to 8 filed subbids, masonry, roofing, all that type of stuff, right? So everyone's got a specialized trade. Then there's the general contractors, which we're at about, I think, 9. We know all the players that have submitted on this. And then regarding specs, so right now we're 2 volumes of drawings, we're probably 2 to 250 sheets for each building. And then with including the site work and landscape in those volumes. And then the spec books, 4,000 pages between 2 volumes. I mean, the first 500 pages are contract, honestly, contract items, but after that, there's all the technical information, you know, regarding the products and stuff. So,
It's amazing. It's amazing in this digital age. I started in planning in 1985 at Vanasang and Breslin, moved on to Evers and Kelsey, and worked for Regional Planning Agency. We were told that this was all going to be paperless. It was all going to be digital. Yet we still have paper.
Well, I would say most people probably use the digital. I know we still require 1 or 2 sets on site for record in the building department, but I think for the most part, I find a lot of the site subs have tablets now, you know, or they're doing 3D coordination on tablets, it seems like, so.
Maybe sometime on the planning board we'll have some, where everything will be submitted.
26 budget.
And I know we all want to get home while I get
Yes.
the ability to
One-
give a shout out.
one more.
Publicly, yeah. I just want to thank the members of the building committee, in addition to myself, Bob Persicini, who was on the library building committee, Gordon Slaney, a lot of you might know, is a retired engineer. Roger Woods was on it, now Alex Bezanson is on it. Alex is a builder, and Derek Amati, who's a member of the Abington Fire Department. So they all bring something to the table, and with our design team and architects, the fire chief and his administration, and the DPW, John Stone and his administration, and the police department and his administration are all working together very well. We're getting a lot of input, trying to make sure the communication's open. So again, thank you for your time, but I just wanted to send a shout out to those volunteers in the committee.
Okay. I'm going to stop talking.
Please.
We're going to,
I have one more quick thing. There
One
was traffic improvements and overall site, and there was just a note that I had made here to add to a potential decision letter. They added a caution watch for vehicles sign, but there was a note in here about traffic controls, light signage, and other warning lights, and that the fire chief said that that issue had been discussed extensively and that it wouldn't make a difference. Do I have that correct? I don't want to misquote you. Okay. So I think just to address that comment and the response in the decision letter.
yeah, I remember I mentioned that thing about the
They won't be
traffic.
leaving the building quietly, so nobody knows they're coming.
Exactly, no lights, no sirens. Don't want to disturb the geese, the ducks.
We won't
The
put that
swan
in-
lady.
We won't put that in the decision. All right. So Liz, are you satisfied with all?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay. So I guess, let's go back. Would someone like to make a motion to accept this site plan with all the revisions?
I'll make the motion.
Someone second, please?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Thank you all for your time. Thank you
Thank
for
you
your
very much.
expertise. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I got duties.
All right.
Have a lovely evening.
You have to get going.
Stay warm.
Thank you, Larry.
I get lucky. My wife will take the dog out and I won't have to go out again.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Somebody come in and mess it all up.
Gotta make it the fade.
You don't. Everybody else does.
All right, I didn't know if you gentlemen wanted your photograph taken for the town report or not.
I do.
Thanks, Sarah, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care.
Larry, thanks
Have a
very
good night.
Do you have masks?
I can get some.
All right. We should put on masks.
You got like forwards we can wear and top.
I have no accoutrements for the photograph. I am so sorry about that.
You realize we're on television?
We can do it afterwards. You guys can all think about it.
Okay. All right, so we've done the site plan, done the call order. You want to do the design guidelines?
Sure.
Let's do that.
All right, so, I went back through, the original zoning for the MFOD, and the only thing I think you're required to do is adopt guidelines and file them with the town clerk, but I was getting the distinct impression that that's not how you wanted to proceed, that you wanted to do a kind of a public hearing and have the public involved in these decisions. And if that is how you truly want to proceed, then I can advertise this, the proposed changes, or that you are proposing to adopt, because they're not even changes, to adopt some design guidelines for the multifamily overlay district. And we can do that in March if you want, although we'll be doing the ADUs in March. So I don't know if you want to do it all in one night, or you want to push this off till May. That'd be your next meeting, outside of town meeting.
Do it all one night, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
All in one night?
I don't think it'd be very much,
Bob, how do you
Holy
feel about that?
Spirit.
yeah.
All right,
Everyone go along with that? Have this?
fabulous.
The feeling that the,
So at what
Public
meeting will that be?
So it'll be our March meeting. We'll be holding a public hearing on proposed zoning changes. So I did receive 3 proposed zoning changes from the building department, and they're really changing stuff in the use table and in the density table to tighten things up or make things make more sense
So March.
March.
Okay.
So we have those 3.
So we'll have time to do the ADU stuff and then we can just do the public hearing.
You can do, I'll advertise all the public hearings, and you can do them all in one night for the proposed zoning changes and to adopt these regulations.
What would,
If that works for everybody.
what would be the March meeting date, Liz?
I think it's March 3rd,
Third?
I think.
Okay.
When's our February meeting date? February 3rd? Yep.
All right, so we've discussed the guidelines, and
All right. And if, Kevin, just to add to that, Kevin and I are going to go out, I was thinking maybe this week, now I'm thinking maybe not. It's a little chilly. To take pictures of multifamily buildings in Abington that sort of have these characteristics that we're looking for.
Check your inbox, I just sent you something.
Oh, okay, great.
So feel free to add to it, delete it, whatever.
All right,
okay,
great.
okay.
All right, so all in March. Minutes?
Yes, let's do the minutes of the January 6th meeting. Any comments, suggestions, changes?
Motion to adopt.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so voted.
Thank you.
Do we have any correspondence, Liz?
We do not.
We don't, zoning board of appeals agenda, was that included?
Nope, because that'll be in your February meeting for when they're,
And we don't have any Form A applicant. I was
No.
amazed that there were only 4 Form As last year.
Right.
Always seemed like there was a lot more.
yeah. So the last thing I have is the town report, and Rick Shepherd sent some comments, which I printed out and left for you guys. Those look great to me.
I have some more notes I can just give to you.
Okay, fabulous.
So you will incorporate the changes suggested by
And I
Rick's.
will email the report back out, so you guys can make sure that we captured everything.
Do you want to give an update, Liz, or anything, town planner?
I don't think I really have anything right now, which is lovely. All quiet in the Western Front
Okay.
for the next week.
And, okay. Does anyone else have anything else to talk about tonight? All right,
Motion to adjourn?
motion to
We're
adjourn.
gonna do these minutes?
Very good.
Did
We
'em.
did? Where was I? In the other room?
We just moved right along.
I guess so.
Okay.
Did you have any changes?
Nope,
Okay.
I'm good.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn.
Aye.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.